People are gonna be pissed. Hey, I'm CJ Corjo, and in this video we are going to be going over the second out of the 5 commander decks from Storms of Tarkir, or Tarkir Dragonstorm, or whatever this set is called. In this one we're going over Jeskai Strikers, which sounds more like a Power Ranger thing to me, but that's just me. In this video I'll be going over the commander, the sub-commander, the context of the deck, and give my thoughts and opinions on all of it to see if this is worth buying or not. But before I go any further, a quick word from our sponsor, which is me and my small little Etsy shop, where I make t-shirts and hoodies and all that good stuff in multiple colours and sizes for people to enjoy. It helps out the channel, and if you like me and what I do and would like to, buy yourself something nice, but also like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff. Now let's get on to the video. Starting off, we're going to be talking about the commander of this deck, and the commander is Jeskai and Narset unified. For 1 blue, red and a white, you get a legendary creature, Human Spirit Dragon, that is a mythic. Has flying and vigilance. Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy that spell if it targets a permanent or player, and you may choose new target for the copy. If you don't copy a spell this way, draw a card, and it's a 4/4. So straight off the bat, we know Narset is now not a Planeswalker anymore. Narset is probably one of the most powerful people in Magic the Gathering, in my opinion. Has had really broken cards, rather Planeswalker and non-Planeswalker variations of them. And to be honest, I thought this was going to be a little bit better. 4 mana for 4/4 with 2 keywords is good itself. Playing spells, of course, this is going to be a very spell-heavy deck with lots of low-cost cards, just even looking at the commander, with very kind of meh enchantments to creatures and artifacts. I do think the ability itself is going to be good and very powerful. This deck has the potential to be very powerful, but without like storm cards or really powerful deck. This deck has been made multiple times, multiple things. They're just making it easier. This kind of reminds me of the dragon, that if you tap it you get to do the same thing. It's more of just an upgraded version of that, in my personal opinion. So now that that's done, we'll go straight onto the sub-commander of the deck, and the sub-commander is Ultra Threefold Master. For a blue, red and white, you've got a legendary creature, Jin Monk, that is a mythic. Has trample, has paress. Whenever Alicia deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with paress, and it's a 1/1. So I can see the instant and sorcery is going to have some of them very powerful upgrade cards to power up this. I actually think the sub-commander is better, in my opinion, because you're still casting the spells. You're not copying them, but you're still casting them, getting their effects. But if you're able to make this unblockable and give it a bunch of +1/+1 counters and double strike, you're able to then get a bunch of 1/1s to then be able to go, cool, they all have paress, so I'm going to draw 3 cards, Swords of Plowshare that thing, I'm going to then brainstorm, and then they're going to be like 4/4/5/5s, and then if you double all the, like give them all double strike and stuff like that. This deck has the ability to be very powerful, be hard, but also hit wide as well, where with Narset it seems to be a very kind of, there's not much blocking and attacking, so you're going to be easy to hit. Pretty much what's going to happen is you're going to play one big massive X red spell potentially, I haven't seen the rest of the deck yet, do a lot of damage to one person, and the other 2 people are going to go, you just did 40 damage with red spells by copying a bunch of them. No, bye. I do think the Narset one is very like glass cannon, where I do think the sub-commander is very good with the defensive part as well. But now let's get on to the context of the deck, starting off with the creatures. When it comes to the creatures, there is 19 creatures in total, and here are some on screen. You get Transcendent Dragon, Voricus Bibliophile, Calidra Primor, Mangara the Diplomat, Monastery Mentor, Archmage Eminurus, Naughty Jin, Lyre, Disciple of the Dawned, Manaform Hellkite, Baral and Keri Zev, Velomachus Lordhold, Veyron Voice of Duality. So I'm gonna say the creatures are good, but in my opinion a lot of these are not creatures. A lot of these are just enchantments that are easy to destroy. A lot of these help with Narset, which is fine, and I do find that playing these is I don't want these to die, I just want them on the field to do my one big turn and hopefully win the game, which again I'm not giving out about. I have decks myself. I have a Zaffy deck that the whole point is I do nothing and then in one turn I'm doing 10 damage 50 times plus then Zaffy triggers 10 times and stuff like that. So it is fine, but I do find that this deck is going kind of that similar route where you play these creatures and hopefully nothing really happens to them. You're just mainly focused to keep them on the field, to be able to use their abilities, to be able to then copy more spells or be able to do other stuff like that, or draw the spells you need. So I do find a lot of these to be enchantment cards, which then, because I made a lot of these videos, means the enchantments are going to also be a bit meh, because pretty much, in my opinion, creatures and enchantments are going to be in one category to make it good. So to separate them, to make the deck, both are going to be okay-ish to meh. So that's why I'm going to go straight on to enchantments. When it comes to enchantments, there is a total of 6 in this deck, where I'm only going to be talking about 3, and those 3 are Aligned Heart, Tempest Technique, Whirlwind of Thought. So I think other than spells, which is I'm counting as 1, enchantments are probably going to be the second best section of this deck. I do think artifacts are going to be not the best. Spells are going to be the hardest focus of the deck, of course, which again is kind of weird but also makes sense with the sub commander. But I say the spells needed for both are very variant, and having both would probably make one side weaker. But I do find that these enchantments, again, as I said, combined with the creature enchantments, make a really good-ish deck already. So now let's go on to the artifacts. When it comes to the artifacts, there is 8 of them in total, 7 of them are mana rock, so I'm just going to read out the last one, and that is Adaptive Training Post. For 2 and a blue, you get an artifact that is a rare. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if this artifact has fewer than 3 charge counters on it, put a charge counter on it. Remove 3 charge counters from this artifact. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it and you may choose a new target for the copy. So again, this is perfect for the deck. It is really good, but again, I haven't gone through the spells yet. This looks like it's going to be a lot of low cost mana spells to be able to give them counters. Hopefully it's some form of proliferate to get more charge counters, but 3 is a lot, especially unless they have Storm in here, so hopefully there is a lot of good and powerful Storm cards. I do think this will be good in a lot of decks that people have as a Storm deck, so if you're ever interested or have built a Storm deck, this card may potentially help you make that deck a little bit stronger. But now let's go on to the spells of this deck. When it comes to this deck, there's a total of 30 spells, of course, and there's a lot of higher cost spells than I originally thought would be in here. And then even the lower cost spells are a bit, in my opinion, but you get spells just like Transforming Flourisher, Narset's Reversal, Sublime Empathy, Electro Dominance, Expansion, Magma Opus, Prismatic Command, Will of the Jeskai, Vanquish the Horde, Dismantling Wave, Ancestral Vision, Beryl's Expensive, Curse of the Swine, Rite of Replication, and Time Wipe. People are going to hate me for this, but I do think this deck has very powerful spells. Very good powerful spells. Very good spells to copy. But also, very bad spells to copy. Very bad cards for this deck. It doesn't make much sense when it comes to Commander and Sub-Commander, especially the Curse of the Swine card. Again, completely fine. They put it in pretty much every deck like this anyway. So it's a very, I'm pretty sure most people that have bought at least 3 or 5 of these type of decks will probably have multiple copies of this card. I know I do. I do find a lot of these are kind of the high cost cards or really broken low cost cards, which again, I expected. But I do find it very split. Like, having Electro Dominance makes sense for Narset. Not really for the sub-commander. Then there is Magma Opus. Again, it was a mech card when even it came out, but it makes sense. Kinda with both. I do also find when it comes to this deck, because it's a dragon set, they are heavily relying on Strixhaven cards, because again, with some of the creatures, you get the Strixhaven dragons, and then in the previous video I did, you got the Strixhaven dragons in that one, and I've got 3 more decks to go over, and I'm pretty sure there could potentially be more Strixhaven dragons. Now I understand people are going to go, it's a dragon set, of course they're going to be in it, but it's an entire world of Tarkir with loads of different dragons from all different universes. I think having 1 or 2 in is fine, but they're heavily leaning on Strixhaven, I've noticed, when it comes to this set, when it comes to the decks at least. And then finally the lands. When it comes to the lands, there's 37 in total, and when it comes to great lands, you get lands just like Cascade Bluffs, Clifftop Retreat, Glacial Fortress, Prairie Stream, Rugged Prairie, and Sulphur Falls. I do think they have upgraded lands the last year or 2, especially with filter lands. I think filter lands are perfect for these decks. They've now gone to the cost that it's actually worth them putting it in, and I do think filter lands are one of the best lands, especially for the price, in my personal opinion. But again, I do find the lands just, I'd probably say, if there was a scale for the perfect lands for the thing, a 10, I think they're at like an 8. I think they're close to there, but again, just keep putting in maybe 1 or 2 very bad lands, or putting in not too many basics, but kind of cards that not really needed when it comes to certain decks. I think there's like a handful of cards they just go and put in without thinking or looking through. I think when the deck is thought of as a whole, the least amount of thought is put in the lands. So now the big question is should you buy this deck? If you want a good Storm deck as a base, yes. If you like the Commander or Sub-Commander, yes. If there's a load of cards in here you don't have, depending on your budget and how much you have to spend on Magic the Gathering, I recommend yes. If this deck interests you, yes. Is it, in my opinion, so far one of the worst decks I've seen built in the last, I'm gonna say, year at least? Yes, this is the deck. Even with Narset, and I love Narset, I'm not disappointed, but this is probably, if I've done a tier list, the lowest deck, or one of the lowest decks that I've seen them make in a little while. But that's just personally me. I'm not a big fan. I do like it where, even if there is somewhat synergy between the two, it feels like the Commander and Sub-Commander are too far apart. The deck is too far apart. It's hard to go one way or another. The cards do work, but at the same time, I feel like you'll have a load of dead cards in your hand, depending on which one you play. I think to make this even, I say it's playable, but to make it good playable, you'll have to do changes, which personally I would not like to do on a deck I just bought. I like decks that are good playable, not the best, probably one of your weakest decks if you like playing at a higher level, but I'd like playing at least a deck that would stand a chance between your average player that's been playing more than 3 years, we'll say. So again, I do find that there's a lot of bad stuff with this deck, but it still is good deck overall. But personally, I'm going to give it a 5.8, which I know people are going to give out about. When I'm saying this, I'm basing it on the entire deck. I say if you got the Commander or Sub-Commander and made the deck entirely yourself, the potential is really high. Possibly one of the best decks. I do think Narset, especially with the cost and what she does, could make a very, very broken deck if needed to be. But the rest of it pulls her down, my personal opinion. So as always, again, if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Let me know what you think of these decks or the set in general. If you build this or have different opinions, let me know in the comments down below and be nice about it. But while you're there, remember to like and subscribe and do all that YouTubey stuff we always ask for. And as always, if you like this video, I have last week's video here, a playlist of all the Is It Worth It stuff I do here, and a subscribe button here, and I shall see you all in the next video.